I actually did that. I actually took all of the things that the elders at the church that I was excommunicated from had done, a whole history, emails, all this communication, and I actually published it on my blog.
I remember that. That was so good.
Because what they had done to me was all public, and they had smeared me publicly, and so I felt like I had a right to clear my name, and just all I did was I said nothing but the facts. I just stated the facts and showed specific documents. That's all I did. Told my story, and then for whatever, so it's out there. Now, whether or not people read it or understand it or believe it, I don't know, but at least I did my part.
Right, you cleared the air. You brought the record, made the record public.
Right.
Yeah, I think in some cases that's really, I think that's really an important thing to do. Oh, wow, so many good things. Let's go to question number 4. So, what's your best advice for people going through it now? And did you ever find that people who were against you at the time of your divorce have now changed their minds and come back and supported you? You're smiling. I'm going to let you go first.
I only had one person come back so far. I mean, I hope that, I just think it's such an egregious sin what so many of them did to me. I hope for their sake and for their relationship with God that they would come back someday. But one woman did come back who had been on the team at my church that had vilified me. She came back, she apologized. She told me some more things that I didn't know that were shocking. But so that was really helpful and good. I think for my advice for people who are going through it is it's extremely painful. And when we experience pain, we want to do a couple of things. We want to either avoid it, and so we buffer and we try to, not think about it, or we want to resist it and fight it. And we want a solution. We want the pain to go away so bad. But when it comes to this, it's kind of like grief. It is grief, really. There is no way to get through to the other side of this without going through it and without actually making friends with that those painful vibrations in your body that you are experiencing. And they're so multi-layered, and there's so many layers of issues. There's your kids, there's the finances, there's the stuff that he keeps doing, there's all the past, there's the stuff that other people are doing. It's like you really do feel like you are being crushed and that you are never ever going to recover. And my only advice is to say that you will. I've watched so many women go through this. Gretchen, you've watched so many women go through this. You recover. You not only recover, but you will go on to thrive. Look at the three of us sitting here. I think we would all say that we're thriving, that we love our lives now, that our only regret is that we didn't get out sooner. And it's the same thing is going to happen for those of you who are going through it. So if you view it like, climbing a big, huge mountain, it's going to be tough. You're not the only one on the mountain climbing it. There's lots and lots of other women who are climbing. And then there's those of us who have gotten to the top of that mountain. We've discovered, and you'll discover when you get to the top too, that there's another mountain for you to climb. There's always a mountain to climb out there. But we are up there at the top of that mountain, and we are cheering you on. Sometimes we'll come down and we'll get into the nitty-gritty with you, and we'll take your hand and help you walk up a very particularly difficult spot. But you are going to make it to the top, because that's what you are. You're a survivor. If you've come this far and lived in a relationship that long and made it work, you can get out. You can.
Right. Excellent. Good point. Because I love how you say that. And you're actually living that out completely, Natalie, with your private women's group, with all your incredible educational program you've got, and your book and your curriculum. It's just awesome. In fact, at the end of this, I want to give you a chance to both of you to give your contact information, and also whatever you've published, because it's so important to give hope to others. Now, Gina, let's give you a chance to answer that question.
Well, thank you, Natalie, for your comments, and so true, everything you're saying. But I was going to mention that one of my favorite phrases that I keep coming back to is trust the process. And I think that applies to criticism as well, that it will come. And one of the therapists that I met with a while ago, she told me, you will lose friends and you'll gain friends on this journey. And it was almost like she was just letting me know this is part of the process. And it's true. And it just, like, I think my best approach is to hold relationships loosely. And again, just letting go of those desires to control an outcome. I so wanted certain outcomes. And I think the truth is, like, I don't get to write that always. I mean, Brene Brown actually says something different, that we can write the ending of our story. But I think in some ways we create the life we want to live. And in other ways, we have to just keep practicing letting go. And so that is part of how I do that. And I think the people close to me, like that, there's people in my family of origin that I've definitely received criticism. And sometimes the criticism is silence. I mean, silence is a language. And sometimes some of the pain I receive is the shutdown and the backing away, like the withdrawal, that is the last thing I need. Sometimes that's a form of criticism for me, but I am seeing, like, even just in the last couple of days, my mom and I had a conversation where I was like, wow, like, she's starting to get it. And she's been willing to read some books. And she just told me, she's like, I haven't seen it. I didn't understand. And like we said, sometimes someone will come back around and they will have gleaned a little bit more and come to greater understanding, which is comforting. And it's nice to hear that. And I told her, I was like, Mom, I really appreciated hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love what you said, that for some people it's a process, it's a journey. I have found it to be best. There are going to be some people who are instantly going to be empathetic and care and want to hear your whole story from start to finish for an hour or more, and they'll never interrupt, and they'll gasp at all the appropriate places. And those people are just priceless. You want to meet with them every week over coffee or something like that, just to have that wonderful person in your life. And there are other people who weren't really in your life for friendship to begin with. Maybe they were in your life because you had children the same age and you lived kind of in the same neighborhood or went to the same school. And I find that those kinds of people kind of drift out. You no longer fit the kind of family they want their child to be around. And so they're going to kind of drift out. Some of those people have come back and some of those people have not. And it doesn't really matter, as Natalie said, and as you said, Gina, we are on a journey, and we have found happiness again. And the majority of Christians who divorce do find happiness again. I just looked at a Baylor study, and it turns out that 7 in 10 Christians say that their life is either somewhat happy or very happy. And that's really completely contradictory to what we were always told. So I do think I did have one man come to me 10 years later after my divorce. And he said, I just want to tell you, I sided with your husband for all this time, but I started picking up on clues myself from spending time with him. And I just want to apologize to you. I really misjudged this situation. And I really have kind of come to side with you on this. So those are few and far between. They don't happen very often, and we certainly shouldn't look for those, because if we base our happiness on other people, we're going to be waiting a long time. But Some people do turn around. Some people, go through it themselves or have someone close to them go through it, and then their eyes are opened. I think one of the best stories I've got, and I don't know that this happens very often, but in my first husband's family, I really liked his sister. I don't know if either of you had a family member who you really liked. And for the first little while, she was really on my side and we stayed in touch. But then, blood is thicker than water. And so there's sort of this rallying around the other person, the family member, even if they were the person in the wrong. And then you get cut out. And even if it was a relationship that was very dear to you. And what ended up happening was my mother-in-law said kind of invented some stories about me. And I look back at them now and say, I don't know where you came up with these stories. But when she finally passed away in her 80s, my sister-in-law came back and we ended up becoming friends again and ended up reconciling and ended up going on a vacation together and even did some business work together. And I would consider her to be a friend today, even though it went pretty badly south for about 10 years. So, I can't promise that that's going to happen for every relationship, because a lot of those relationships, sometimes you can give them a few years, they come back, and sometimes they never do. But that shouldn't stop us from moving on and reaching out. Final comments. Gina, I'm going to go to you first. And you'll need to unmute. There we go.
I don't know. I was just in listening mode. I'm really just appreciative too of this conversation. So thank you. It's good to be joining everyone. I don't know that I have anything else to add.
Okay. All right. Natalie.
Well, I'll take this opportunity just to mention my own book.
Excellent. Good. I wanted you to.
I feel like my book and Gretchen's book are very complementary. My book talks about, it's called Is It Me? Making Sense of Your Confusing Marriage, a Christian Woman's Guide to Hidden Emotional and Spiritual Abuse. My book is for the woman who is waking up to abuse in her life. And then where my book ends, Gretchen's book picks up, because a lot of times people get to the end of my book and they say, wow, I need to make some hard decisions. And what are my options? And divorce might be something that you consider as an option. My book doesn't really go into that a whole lot, but that's where Gretchen's book is a great resource for if you're considering that. And then my website is flyingfreenow.com, and I have a podcast on there and I write articles on there. So if you want, and also if you sign up at the very top of my website, I'll give you the first chapter of my book for free and the first chapter of the companion workbook that I wrote for this book for free. So go check it out, flyingfreenow.com.
Flyingfreenow.com. And I'll put that in our show notes, and I'll put a chyron on. One of the questions I get asked the most is, do you do, counseling, or do you have a group online? And that's why I'm excited, because you do have some options, both through the workbook that Natalie has. So you could do something with just another girlfriend, but you have even more of an intensive. Natalie, would you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I have, it's called the Flying Free Sisterhood. And that is more of a comprehensive, we'll take you through a year's worth of curriculum, courses, expert workshops. Gretchen's got an expert workshop in there. Actually, I think she has one in there. She's been on my podcast so many times, I'm getting confused between the podcast and so there's expert workshops in there. We have coaching every week. So if you want to get personal coaching, and that is also a place where you can get private contact with other survivors in a closed forum, so that you can talk to other women who are going through the same thing that you're going through and get your questions answered. There's a lot in that group. You could, if you go to my website, you will, let's see, if you go to joinflyingfree.com, you can learn more about this program. It's not open right now. It's going to open up every 6 months starting in October. So the next time it'll open up will be in October. Then it won't be open again until 6 months later. But you can get on the waiting list at least. And then when it opens up, I will let you know that it's open and you can have an opportunity to join then. And then the second phase of that I'm developing right now is for divorced women. And it's called Flying Higher. And it's specifically for women who are already out of their relationship and they want to do more personal growth work, personal development, whether it's your career, weight loss, just basically brain management for the divorced woman, new relationships. And that program will not be available until January of 2021. But again, if you get on my mailing list, you will hear about these things periodically. I don't spam anybody. I just let you know when there's a new podcast or a new article. But yeah.
I can't recommend that highly enough. It's for women only, but you know, you can, if you're a guy and you're watching this, you can poke around her website. She's got a lot of real wisdom. Gina, how can people follow you? And do you want to pitch anything here today?
Thanks for asking. Well, I've been in process of developing my platform. My website is ginakaye.info, but it is not currently live, but it will be soon. And my last name is Kaye. I can be emailed at GinaKATX, that stands for Austin, Texas, where I live. So GinaKATX@gmail. And what I am personally called to do, and what I need to step into more, is training the faith leaders and clergy. And so that's something, you know, if there's opportunity, as a former pastor's wife of 10 years, and then someone who's professionally been working in fields of addiction, trauma, and abuse, I can be that person that can come in and do professional trainings. I've offered CEU events. I'm, doing chapel speaking at colleges, like to do more prevention work. So yeah, there's a variety of things, but my thing is education and advocacy, and being someone that's kind of on the front lines, just disseminating information and breaking complex topics down, and then pointing to resources. So that's my role.
Well, and you've got a master's degree in health education and
Correct.
do a lot of speaking. So that's great. And I'm with you. I would love to see interested pastors and church leaders getting educated on this topic. Well, this has been great. And I really appreciate both of you sharing with me. And I hope people find you. For those who are men or know a man who needs similar support because they're going through a life-saving divorce and they're not getting any kind of support at church, or maybe they're getting criticism from family and friends, I've got a very active Facebook page and a private group, and men are very welcome. Chapter 9 in my book is completely dedicated to men who are victims of abuse, adultery, neglect, and so forth. So I don't want to have men think that they are not being heard or listened to, because I know that it's real. I know that it's serious. I know that it's painful, and I know that it's devastating. So, and yet you can fly free too. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's been really nice.
I hope this panel discussion has opened your eyes to new ways of handling criticism. In the end, no one else knows what happens behind closed doors. No one else knows how much you can take. No one else knows when enough is enough. Are you living in a destructive marriage, one of emotional, physical, or verbal abuse, infidelity, neglect? You can love God and get a divorce. And get this, God will still love you, really. If you know you need to escape, but you're worried about going against God's will, I have good news for you. You might need to divorce to save your life and your sanity. And God is right there, right beside you.